One Drop Dojo Uppsala. We have a center there, and it is a Rinzai Zen Japanese meditation center. We are there teaching people meditation, and I would like today to talk with you about what we have in common. So, what we as human beings have in common together, right? And I would like to quote a teacher from my teacher. My teacher is called Shodo Harada Roshi from Japan. He's an abbot in a Sogenji temple in Okayama, and I've been there in monastery. And his teacher is Yamada Mumon Roshi, who said, unless your heart becomes of a child, the man cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And doing zazen or meditation or training, right, is actually to become a child, to become that innocence and that presence, to connect with God. I want to use this word intentionally because you understand it. In Zen, it is called Satori Kensho, or maybe you know about enlightenment, awakening, right? So these terms that you have been hearing, enlightenment or awakening, is when we spend time, a quality time with ourselves, when we calm our mind, we can meet the God. So what is about is to realize who we truly are, right? In Zen Buddhism, it is the essence, understanding our true essence, understanding it, right? Not by intellectual grasping, but by experiencing it. And in the Zen tradition, this is something which is main importance. It is to experience that, right? So I will also cite the Shodo Harada Roshi and Mumon Roshi, who said, they were asked, well, why it is so important? Isn't it selfish to sit by yourself, right? Well, and he said, when I sit zazen in meditation posture, right, I become nothing. And everything becomes nothing. I and everything melt into one. There is a unity with the whole universe. You can call it enlightenment, you can call it God, you can call whatever words you want to use. But that experience is something that we have to, as human beings, to experience, to have, because then from that place comes a wisdom and understanding. And that he says, then when I see the flower is I. When I see the moon is I. When I see another human being is I. There is no separation, right? That experience of oneness, right? from that experience emerges love, wisdom, goodness of the heart, sincerity, honesty, respect, courage, patience, right? Compassion. And in a Zen tradition, but also Japanese martial arts, it is used the hakama, like something that I have today. And these hakama, they have a pleats. You can see the pleats, right? There are 5 pleats on the front, 2 pleats on the back. And these pleats, they represent actually these qualities which I just said. And these are the qualities of the mind, of our heart, of the God, something that we're carrying within ourselves. In Zen Buddhism, it is called Buddha nature. Buddha nature. But it's not about a person, right? It's about quality of experience. And when we have that, when we spend time with ourselves in peace, when we connect with that, then we can also bring this to the world, right? We can bring this in our relationships, in our family, in our work, in whatever we are doing in our life. We are from that place acting, right? This is not easy because our ego is standing on the way, right? Our ego, which is small and wants to survive. What is an ego? The ego, as we have been born with a human body, we have got these 5 senses. In Buddhism, it is called 5 windows, right? The smell, the touch, right? The vision, the hearing, right? And all these senses that we are having, through these senses we are experiencing the world, right? And when we get the input from outside, there is behind our eyes the caretaker of these impressions. And this caretaker, or call it ego, is sometimes the one that analyzes. Is it good or is it this bad? Is judging. Is this good or not? Is this going to give me something or not? It is bringing the previous experiences from before and adding previous experiences to what we experience here and now, and obstructing our true self, true nature. So our thoughts, our previous ideas, experiences, all these things are just disabling us to clearly see, right? Purely see things as they are, right? As long as there is the one who judges, who thinks that knows, who thinks that wants this, doesn't want that, I have affinity for this, but I have aversion towards that. This is all the play of your ego, right? But as you take time and spend time in peace with yourself and let these activities of your mind, so-called afflictive emotions and thoughts, if you let them settle down, then you can have this clarity, right? A clarity of your heart, of your mind, of the God, right? You have that. We all human beings carry that wisdom, right? But for that, we have to have this daily hygiene. It is a mental hygiene, right? It is like we are brushing our teeth every day, right? We don't brush our teeth once a week. So in the same way, we need to have this mind hygiene every day. Get in touch with yourself, with your truly, deeply yourself, without judgment, without busy mind, without projects. Let them on the side. Just be, right? You can notice how your mind gets very busy. Some of you, maybe when you go to sleep. Sometimes you cannot get to sleep because mind gets pondering about things, what happened during the day, and so on and so on. And sometimes you might think, am I owning my life? Is this what it is, right? Sometimes we feel that our thoughts and our busy mind is owning our life. But if we just let that on the side, what is left, right? And that pure radiance, that pure awareness, that quality of the awakened state, quality of the mind, right? When we have that experience of unity with everything, we lose the sense of self because we are one with everything. My teacher, when I in training in Japan, when I used to go in Sanzen, it is a private interview with the master, and usually it is done once or twice a day. And he would say, no mind, no body, only universe. Don't think you are this body, don't think you are this mind. You are much bigger than that. You're much greater than that. Right? So, and experience it, right? Right now. That's not easy, because we have this conditioned way of thinking, of behaving, right? That constantly is active, right? We all have habits of thinking, habits of being. And as we are sitting with ourselves, we are disintegrating all of that. I don't need this. That's not me. I'm not the anger. I'm experiencing the anger, but that's not me. I'm experiencing this other thought or a mood, but that's not me. Let it pass, which is a very strong message of Zen and Taoism, right? Things are in a constant flux. Don't get stuck. Things are changing, right? So experience the essence from its true place. Not being moved by what you see, what you hear, and so on, because then you will get stuck. Purify your mind, purify your heart. And from that place, you can give yourself to the world in the most beautiful way, right? So, it is the Shuddharana Roshi. He's an abbot, and he's regarded as teachers of teachers. Many teachers are going to the monastery to sit and train with him, and actually there has been some Benedictine monks who've been also going to Japan to train with him, and he was talking, even he was meeting a pope, and they were talking about interchanging how we can meet the religions together, and how that purity of the teachings of all religions, they can meet at the common ground, right? And that meeting is not about using different jargons and words, but it's about humans, about the heart, right? It's about the heart. It's about the essence. And you can see also how these wisdoms, they have been present in different parts of the world, and they have been growing, right, together with the culture, right? So they have evolved, and in the one part of the world they used certain words, and another part of the world another words, but the essence is the same, right? So we are all connected, right? And in Zen tradition, it's important to do this very often, these retreats, 7 days retreat. It's called sesshin. And during these 7 days, you put your projects and everything on the side, or your plans, no phone, no speaking. It is just you go within yourself and you focus within, and you go to that place, to that peace, right? And more you go there, more often you visit that place of your pure awareness, of that unity, more it becomes part of you, and you purify yourself from your ego. You allow the God to really live within you, right? So these retreats are to immerse yourself into that, right? So that you can truly embody that. That's what it is in Zen. In Zen is experiencing it. But after that, you have to purify your mind in order to embody that. That's years of practice, right? And that's what Harada Roshi, he's now 83 years old, and he actually, when he experienced enlightenment, satori, right, and when he was younger, after in his training, he stayed after that 20 more years in a monastery to practice with his teacher, Yamada Muman Roshi. So he realized, okay, now I had this intimate recognition, an intimate meeting with the God, where I realized who am I truly, right? But then it took him a lot of years to just purify his mind from his ego in a daily life, right? Because you can do that if you're sitting fair, you put all your life energy into it, and you just say, I want to reach that. I want to be that, until there is no one saying anything anymore. There is no you anymore who wants it. There is just that experience, right? But then you have to bring that into the world. You have to bring that into whatever you do and live. For that is a practice needed. To be completely mindful, completely to speak, do, act from that pure heart, right? Pure heart. And in Zen tradition it is said you have to be aligned, right? Your mind, your breath, your body, your actions, they have to be expression of the truth, of awakened truth, or call it God, or call it as you wish. But this is the strong thing that human beings have that AI cannot exchange, right? And this is something that I wanted also to address before I should finish, right? Is that we have been having a lot of smart people in this planet. Smart, right? It's not about being smart. It's about being wise. Because people have been smart, they have been developing technologies, science, and so on and so on. But we are we more civilized? Is there more humanity than before? I don't think so. We still have wars, we still have conflicts, and this is something that is coming from this ego clashing. If everyone would live from their peaceful heart, loving heart, kindness, from that their true self, authentic place within them, if we would all come from there, there will be no wars, right? There will be no conflicts. So it's about finding the common ground for humanity. And I truly believe that humans can do that, right? And why the science and technology cannot understand this, what we are saying today, and what you know, what I'm talking about, is because the science and technology can measure on that which is measurable and quantifiable. The God, experiencing the God cannot be measured or quantified. It is something that you have to experience yourself, right? And what it in Zen is said, in Zen Buddhism, is when you experience that, you have no doubts, you have understanding, that's it. And I usually like to say that monasteries, or Zen monasteries, or any kind of monasteries, right? Any kind of places where there is trained, a very rigorous training of introspection, are the contemplative laboratories, right? Where you are putting that which you believe in into test. You put it and you try yourself. See what happens. Okay? Do you have any questions, or shall we do questions? We're okay.
We can do questions. We can open up. Do we have any questions?
I have a question. So, the spiritual path is very much about the individual.
Yeah.
We are called a family federation. And so, to fully experience God, it's not just to be experiencing God as an individual, but in relationship, and especially in the family.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how Zen Buddhism addresses the family and relationships.
Marko, can you please repeat the question into the microphone of the people online?
Yes. So the practice, as you said, it's what?
It's a question.
Yes. So the practice about with yourself is individual,
Yes.
right? And it's all about. It's also important to bring it into the family and to connect with the family. And you are wondering how the Zen sees that.
Yes.
So first of all, if you want to bring a love to your family, you have to find the love within yourself, right? We are seeing, at least I am doing in my practice, a lot of families who, unfortunately, have not found love. And that is reflected on their children and other family members. So what Zen suggests is to find that within you, be that, and share that. Of course, with a society, with a family, with your loved one. But first, in order to do that, you have to do your own kind of a work, right? Because we are all one, right? In Zen monasteries, it is a very strong community of brothers and sisters, and I heard that you are also addressing to your newly the new couple, that right, a brother and sister, and it is with a reason, because when you're in a monastery, you're going through the challenging times with yourself, right? Your ego doesn't like all the time what's going on, and sometimes you can get maybe more irritated or unhappy or something like that. But the people who are there in a monastery, they understand that. And they know that you're going through a certain phase, a certain challenging period, without a judgment, that they just say, okay, take your time, it will pass. Practice, right? Keep it on, keep it on. So this is very important. It is this family quality of non-judgment, of patience, of understanding, right? And that's why we're brothers and sisters, because ideally, right, we are forgiving to our brothers and sisters. Whatever they say, sometimes they can do silly stuff or say silly stuff, but we still love them, right? So it is the same thing. Why we call each other brothers and sisters is that we are on the same path, right? We're on the same path. We're all human beings. We are in this together. That's why.
So if you're a Zen Buddhist, you can also have a family.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not ordained.
So can you please repeat the question?
If I'm Buddhist, I can have a family. Yes. Well, if you're not ordained, you can have a family. You can still practice the way of life. But if you're ordained, of course, then you're a monk, and then you are living more in that arrangement.
So then you would consider that the highest spiritual path is to go as an individual. Because if you say you're ordained, then your whole life is to follow this path. So then you don't need to have a wife.
Right. Well,
Can you repeat the question?
well, if you are ordained and if you're following this path, like ordained monk, you don't need family or a wife. You're just going on this path. That's correct. Because in that sense, this monk is seeing the whole community as family. And this monk wants to send this message to everyone, right? To the whole community. So it doesn't have only one preferred person, but rather wants to reach everyone and to share this truth of, call it as you want, right? This truth want to share with the community. So this monk is in service to the community until the rest of his or her life. So it is about sharing. It's not about retracting. It's about sharing. More, I would say the whole world is a family. I would say so. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
And it's stated from a point of assumption.
Yeah.
So please correct me if I'm wrong. The impression I get from Buddhism is that you are the owner of yourself and that's it, kind of. But if someone else does something wrong, is it not also my responsibility to stand up and say that's not correct, and to be, somehow enter into a conflict with this person to say, no, we cannot do this, we have to go a different path.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand the question?
Yeah, I understand. Shall I repeat it?
Yes, please.
So I make sure that I really understood. Well, if someone is doing something wrong, let's say, is it okay if I say that you're doing wrong? We should correct it or do it differently? Or, right? Is it?
Basically, yeah.
Hmm. If someone puts some spice in your food, is that wrong? And you don't like it? Or if someone hits in your head and says, and you don't like it, which one of wrong is that?
Well, I mean, if there's an aggression on me, then I would say that's
Right.
definitely wrong.
If someone puts the spice in your food?
Well, that depends on the motive.
Exactly. So the thing is that if someone does something wrong, is also you have to be careful about whether you are perceiving it from your subjective point of view. And this is where things get tricky. And this is the thing where actually your ego is involved, right? It is involved with, as we said, in a daily life, where we said, I have my own personal likes and dislikes, right? Is that something that belongs to that, right? Or is it something that someone is doing something inhumane, right? Which is clearly not right, violating someone's health, someone's life, and so on, or something like that, right? So you are perceiving things in a certain way, and actually this is where the polarities happen, where you are having a certain point of view. But more you're close within yourself, when you're close with, let's say, with that pure self, right, with a purity within you, then it's easier to act from it, you know, right? Not to be confused. Is this my ego, or is this my pure heart? It's most probably your ego, right? That's why you're getting into the conflict, right? But if you just go backwards and just let it pass, right, and observe, right, it will pass. But it depends on the situation, I would say. It depends also, from which place you're acting from. Where you're stepping from the place of authentic self, or you're stepping from the place of persona who has certain affinities, right? That's why we want to let go of these affinities, let go of these, disintegrate the ego, so we can be and completely surrender to that essence. And then you will know, intuitively, you will know what is okay, what is not okay. You will see things clearly, I would say. In Zen would say so.
If I follow-up question, is there like a moral code of conduct of sorts that you follow that, well, I would say, maybe simplifies if something is morally good or bad? Or is it just stepping away, not just, but is it stepping away and looking at it in a pure way?
Right. Is there some moral conduct that is leading you throughout the life, or it is just stepping away from the situations? As I mentioned before, the hakama, which has a pleats, it has a meaning, right? This is something that you want to embody, right? Those meanings are the benevolence, the good-heartedness, right? It is the courage, kindness, and respect, wisdom, right? Compassion. You are following these so to speak, codex in a way. So they are preventing you from, doing something that you probably wouldn't like to do it, But this is something that this codex is helping you on the path. Until you start to cultivate that God within you. Until you don't need anymore the codex. Until this codex is arising from your state of being. Right? Does it make sense? So these codexes are helpful, and they should be there. But at the same time, you're cultivating your spirit. You're cultivating your spirit so that at some point you will embody all these qualities. These qualities will spontaneously arise. Right? It is like, these days, probably you in Stockholm had it, we had it in Uppsala. It was a misty morning. We have a huge cathedral in Uppsala, maybe you know about that. It's a very high one. I think the highest in Scandinavia, they say. It was so misty storm, and it was a snowstorm, a lot of snow. I was working in a hospital, and it's very close to the hospital. I couldn't see the cathedral, I couldn't see the castle. Your thoughts, your emotions, your ideas, your stories of your mind are like the snowstorm. The cathedral is always there. It's always there. It stands there, unmoved, still, present. But the snowstorm, you cannot see because of the snowstorm. You cannot see. That within you, what you're seeking, is already within. The reason why you cannot recognize it is because of the snowstorm of your mind. Does it make sense? And what you want is to take time with yourself to reflect. Let it settle. One Zen teacher said, the best way to clear up the water is not to steer it. Don't steer your mind. The best to clear up the muddy water is to leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't mess with yourself, right? Let it settle. Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking when you're working in a hospital environment, right, you have different work hours, I assume. How do you fit that in with your Buddhist practices? Like, because you have a certain morning routine, I guess, waking up early. When do you wake up?
That's a real question.
I didn't want to be so rude to ask. So I didn't make it a little bit.
I used to in the monastery. I'm sorry. How do I put this practice into my daily life? Because I'm probably having a different working hours, and also when do I wake up and when do I have? Well, in the monastery, we used to wake up at 3:30 in the morning, and go to bed at about 10, 11 in the evening. When you are, I'm coming to your question, but I want to make a little digression. When you're in the monastery settings, you are usually in the monasteries they are in the nature or a little bit surrounded with the nature. It is a very calm environment. But when you are in a calm environment, when you don't have much things going around, you can see actually much clearer how your mind is busy. How your mind is full of just some thoughts going on, some stories, right? So in a monastery, you are constantly engaged in a certain practice, either meditation, either it's working labor on the grounds, right? Or cooking for everyone, right? Everyone has to be either on the grounds or in the kitchen cooking for 50 people, 100 people. It's a big task. So it trains you to integrate that what you have experienced in your meditation, in your stillness, to integrate it while you are working a labor work, while you are cooking, while you are walking, right? Whatever you are doing, you're putting that into your work. You are putting that into your presence, your complete life energy. You put that into your practice. Whatever you are doing, right? And of course, in that process, a lot of thoughts are coming, a lot of, oh, should I do this, should I do that? But as you practice, you keep practicing, keep putting all your intention, all your life energy into that moment. The mind just, at some point, just settles down. And you're one with what you are doing, right? You don't think anymore. You're just one with the sweeping, one with the carrying, you're one with the cooking. And you're doing it for others, right? It's forgetting about yourself. It's not about the self. That's why it is difficult in life, because you think too much about yourself. When you forget about yourself, it gets easier, right? And then when you go through that training in the retreats and so on, then of course it was challenging for me at some points to bring that also in my practice. But I was seeing it as an opportunity to, with each and every patient, each and every situation, in emergency room, or if I have appointments, to just be there. How can I serve? What can I do to, right? It's not about me. If it is a fear, if it is a doubt, let it go. It's not time for it. Because if I'm too much concerned about how I feel, I will stop, I will freeze, right? I will not be able to be there and help out and do, right? But just forget about it. Just do it, right? Just be there, right? So, the Zen training is a little bit kind of a Spartan in a way, that it is very much, you're doing it in a winter, it's freezingly cold, there is no warming, the monastery is open, so you're exposed to cold. In a summer it is very warm. So it is just, and in Japan they are very different. They have a strong summers and winters, but when you are outside, you also realize how you can live with the nature. You can live with yourself. You can live on these conditions. In the beginning, the ego is like, oh, I don't like this. But just, you start living that. You start being that. It's not that big deal, It's just in your mind. For a long time, I've been having a practice of waking up at 4 in the morning and doing a qigong. It's a energy practice. When you're doing a slow movement, like a tai chi, but a little bit more simplified. Or jia zhuang is like when you are just standing in one position. It is a preparation for the meditation, and I would do that maybe for half an hour or 40 minutes, and after that I will do meditation zazen for 2 hours. And then I would have a breakfast and go to my work, because otherwise I don't have time, right? And in the evening, when I come back from the work, I would practice maybe for 1 hour and just be. And it helps, right? In the morning, if you start your morning with that, it echoes, it leaves, truly, it makes you handle the day differently. It helps you to go from that place, to do, right? To act from that place. But if you are rushing from the early in the morning and not being settled, your day will be most probably unsettled too. So start with the morning with your own practice and finish with your own practice in the evening. But make sure that before the practice in the morning and practice in the evening, you are practicing during the day. It's an active practice. It's not the passive, just being, right? But just actively being present, right? So it's, as my teacher said, usually said, from morning to evening, from evening until morning, constantly be that, be that, be that. Let that universe express itself through you. Then, whatever you do, like it is, for example, martial arts or a calligraphy or writing a poem or doing anything, you're doing from that place. You're expressing your life energy from that place, right? Not from your ego, but from that place. From truth, right? Sincerity. And I think I will end up here.